Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored. Today, we are diving deep into the crevice, the chaos that is the valley. And fortunately, I am joined by good friend, family and marriage and family therapist,
Here we go.
Janae Tipton.
Woo! Thanks, Leah. I'm so excited to be back.
I feel like I need to have, because you're going to be such a frequent guest and you've been on my podcast before. If this is your first time listening, Janae has been on my podcast before, but she's going to be coming on even more frequently upcoming. But I feel like you need a segment, and because your last name is Tipton, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, what always pops in my head is, welcome to the Tipton where everything is sweet.
I can kind of get down with that though.
Right? Like maybe we'll have to remix it or
I
something,
can
but
get
like,
down with that.
or come up with our own words.
So now I'll think of a segment. We can insert that into anytime we do a podcast together.
100%. Okay, we'll think on that. And if viewers, if you're having ideas as you're sitting there, so if you have any suggestions, let us know. You can send me a message on Instagram. You can comment. Actually, Spotify has that feature, which now is a good time to remind you. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast. Leave me a review. Make sure you're following me on all the socials and give me 5 stars. Don't give me 4. Don't give me 3. Don't give me 2. Definitely don't give me 1. Don't even come back if you do that. But while you have your phone out, go ahead and follow Janae as well. Can you tell everyone where to follow you?
Yeah, so my Instagram and my TikTok are now Janae Breon. JANAE BREAHN. And you can also go to my website, janaebreon.com, and all of my information is on there as well.
And Janae, again, she's based in Georgia. She
Mm-hmm.
is a marriage and family therapist. She's always doing really cool workshops that I see her posting
Yes.
about. And her content, regardless of her content, never lands bad. Like, even there are some days where
Thank
you don't
you.
want to see therapy content, and your content never comes across as pretentious or too hard to digest or like something
Yeah.
that could totally like disrupt your whole day, and now you're like only thinking like, oh my god, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. No, it's very digestible, it's very fun to listen to, so make sure you're following Janae, because I have somebody on with more emotional intelligence than me. Janae's going to help me talk about the valley, and anything that I say that perhaps might be incorrect, she's going to offer another perspective, which is going to be really fun. No pressure though.
A lot
We're
of
also
pressure.
just talking shit.
I love it. I'm
It's a
here for it.
combination of both.
Let's.
Let's talk about feeling good and whatever that means for you. Whether you're looking to improve your health, strengthen your core, improve your flexibility, Better Me Health Coaching is here to help. With over 4,000 workouts in the app, ranging from calisthenics, somatic training, wall Pilates, you will find something that works for you. With 24/7 personalized training, nutrition guidance, and real progress tracking, you're going to have the support that you need to stay on track and feel better. Join us, over 150 million users, on their journey towards better health. Tap the link in my show notes to get started today. Back to the show.
Go.
Okay, we're going to be jumping around. So everybody knows I'm going to start with a recap of season 2, episode 3. Season 2, episode 4, really
It's
nothing
boring.
major happened. It's boring. So we're going to go straight to episode 5. So we're going to skip around. Episode 3 is the episode that Jax goes to rehab. And how the episode starts is we're getting all of the various cast members' reactions to the news,
Mm-hmm.
and we're hearing conversations. Now, Jason goes over to Brittany's house, and he's the one who actually drove Jax to rehab. So he's the
Yep.
person to hear Jax's last words, if you will. Okay?
Correct.
And he walks in and basically tells Brittany that what does he tell Brittany? Basically, he's like, I dropped Jax off. I hope that it goes well. He's like, if Jax is in there and not trying to work on the relationship, then he's doing a disservice to the family. Brittany's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, perfect. Did you tell him that? He's like, no. I'm just thinking of this now.
So I want us to remember to come back to Jason to discuss him in episode 5. He sucked as a friend. None of his friends are holding Jax accountable at all. They're saying, "Oh, you're doing a bad thing, and we'll help you," but they're not really saying like, "Dude, you suck." and you need to go like to a real facility and you need to really like put in the work. Nobody's being frank. But then everybody goes back to Brittany and they're like, yeah, he's really messed up, man. This really sucks. But they're not saying that to Jax.
Do you think that this is a very much like boys will be boys, boys club giving extra grace, or do you think that people are basically fatigued in their friendship with Jax and tired of having to hold him accountable? Which do you think it is?
Plot twist. I think none of the gentlemen on the season are of quality.
Me too.
And so they if you're not of quality, how can you call out somebody else to not be of quality?
I think that's the reason you're hitting on something so good because that's the reality of why none of them are actually holding him accountable. I think that all of them are scared to be too firm with each other or air out each other's dirty laundry for fear that somebody says, "Oh, how interesting, Danny, that you feel super offended
Yeah.
over this when I know this about you and Nia and I've kept it quiet. Where's the loyalty?"
Yes.
I think
That
that's
is
going on.
that's exactly what it is. So iron sharpens iron. If you're around good people, you will be more inclined to be a better person. None of them are inclined to be a better person because they're all equally doing bad shit.
And
And they all
listen,
equally don't want their wives to know.
and they're not neutral personalities. These are very
No.
polarizing people. You either love
Yes.
them or you hate them. There's no in between. You can't just tolerate them and be in friendship with them. So the
Correct.
fact that Jesse Lally, Jax Taylor, I'm going to use Jason and Luke. Like the fact that all of them are friends, Danny even, like all of them found each other for a reason. They connect
Yep.
for a reason. And you should always side eye a guy when his friends are doing off the wall things every time.
Yes. And okay, and I'm gonna hesitate on throwing Luke into that group
Okay, fair. But Luke's
because
messy.
Luke is messy, but Luke's messiness is usually at the benefit of somebody else that needs to know what's going on.
That's fair, but where Luke confuses me is, and I've heard other people say this, so I think it really just got in my head, no original thought, but I believe, so Luke's a country boy, right?
Yep.
He didn't really want to be on camera, okay?
Yep.
Now you're in LA, living in West Hollywood, on a
Yep.
show for reality with Kristen, mind you, with Kristen. Same thing I just said
Yes.
about the guys. You are dating Kristen, okay?
Yes.
You're dating Kristen. And beyond that, you guys have a podcast together where your sole purpose is to recap the Valley. So I'm not sure if
That's
he's
true.
this small town boy who doesn't want fame as much as he tries to make himself seem. So I'm just side eyeing
Correct.
him a little bit. I'm kind of like,
I agree. I don't think he's a small town boy that never wanted to be on TV. No.
right.
I think he was a small town boy that probably didn't want to be on this television show, but probably got that check last season and said, "Well, this is where we're at.
Because he's
Let's
not
keep it
giving
going."
Rob Roush. Like, do we see
No.
Rob? He moved back to wherever he's from, Alabama, Kentucky, Pennsylvania. I don't know where he's
He could have
from.
packed up and said no, but I think he got the check last season and realized life is not that bad out here in the valley.
So after Jason talks to Brittany, drops Jax off to rehab, people are pretty shocked that he actually went. And that in itself is a sign that you're not really friends with a very good person because it's like everybody was more shocked that Jax went to go get help than they were shocked of how Jax's behavior has been all season. Now,
Yeah.
Jesse has Kristen and Luke over for a tea party, which is weird. Okay? Kristen, why can't you realize that Jesse is using you to manipulate Shell or by way of getting at Michelle? Because that's how I
Yeah.
feel. What do you think?
I'm really struggling with Kristen's relationship with Jesse
Me
and
too.
why she wants to be so buddy buddy with Jesse when he has been so nasty to Michelle. And I know that Kristen and Michelle are not friends, but it seems like Kristen is going out of her way to be friends with Jesse and to make excuses for Jesse as well. I think that's just about her being like vindictive. That's like the petty Kristen that we used to know from Vanderpump Rules. I think we're seeing that now. Whereas last season, I felt like Kristen was the truth teller last season. She was telling the truth. People did not like it. Nobody really wanted to hear it. But what she said was true, and I think she's kind of leaning into that villain role when she wasn't trying to be a villain last year. But she's villaining out with Jesse, which is weird.
I
That
agree.
makes me uncomfortable.
It's like you're not a passive woman, Kristen. So like picturing you being blindsided by Jesse and not seeing through his manipulation, I just can't really picture that going on.
I feel like she makes a lot of excuses for his actions too, which is like, you know what he's doing is wrong, but miss your dislike for Michelle is so much stronger that you're willing to just be like, I mean, it's Jesse.
And she's enabling and
Yay.
encouraging the delusion. They're sitting over there and they're helping Jesse piece together clues as to whether or not Michelle was with her current boyfriend before Jesse. And the big kicker, I guess, is that her current boyfriend Aaron's house is at Runyon Canyon, which is the same place where Michelle went to go take her runs. Now, mind you, as somebody else said in their confessional at one point, this is the best marketing for Jesse's Honey Company I've ever seen. Because
Yeah.
regardless of this is true, I'm picturing like I'm picturing that song that's like good directions.
Yeah.
And dun, dun, dun. Like I'm just picturing like she met him, saw his honey, tried it, took a U-turn, came back, said, "Oh my god, I think I love this guy. He was nice." Like I'm actually falling for him as well after hearing all of this. So I don't know. I think it's great marketing for him regardless. I also think that Michelle's at the point where if she was with Aaron, I think she would have just said, yeah.
I can't tell if Michelle is telling the truth or if she's not. But I do feel like I wonder, this is my biggest thing. If she is telling the truth, will she take this lie to the grave with her? Because that may have something to do with their divorce. There may be something written in there
about
about
non-cheating.
cheating, infidelity, yes.
Right.
And she might take that down with her for the rest of her life. We don't know what the truth is, but I do feel like the way Jesse treats her and how manipulative he is, I think she would have said by now if she had cheated on him. But if she's not saying that and it is the truth, I think it has something to do with their divorce.
I can see that.
Personally, the cheating is not the issue here, though. The cheating was wrong, and it was the symptom of something else that was wrong, which was the way Jesse was treating her.
Yes, the disease, which is Jesse.
Yes, and she said like Jesse didn't kiss her, he didn't tell her she was pretty, he didn't talk to her, like he didn't do all these things, and she is not at fault. I'm sure there are plenty of things that Michelle did that were either tit for tat or that Jesse just didn't like and never spoke on. So both of them, like, the communication was not there throughout their marriage, and it led to them making like piss poor decisions. But now we're here, and the communication that you didn't have in the marriage is the communication that you do not have in the co-parenting, which is why they hate each other, because now you don't have to be together, and now it's just nasty.
And I think, and perhaps I'm giving Michelle too much grace, but I want to preface with this. I don't like Michelle. She is very easy to dislike. But because I'm aware of how there really is no such thing as a perfect victim unless that victim is dead, and people use that victim for entertainment, which, by the way, everyone should go look at The Collectress on Instagram. She had a great post talking about that today. But I look at Michelle's relationship with Jesse, and when she talks about it, I think that Jesse and Michelle's relationship was volatile from the beginning. And I think that
Agreed.
Jesse was very much one of those people where I think that he likely concealed some of how he was. I mean, I think that things happened quickly for them. I think that energy that was once seen as he was a go-getter, he took initiative, he was taking her on dates, he was very generous. I think that became methods of controlling her. And I think that he knew better than to do that until he tied her down, essentially. And I feel like with that relationship, she was dating Jesse and things were going great. But as soon as they got married, in my mind, I think Michelle became very aware of who she was with and how she couldn't leave. Like, I think that Jesse has always been this guy of, you can leave, but I'm going to make things horrible
Difficult
for you. Yeah.
I agree. I think there's a saying that people say, like, on the first couple of dates, you're meeting that person's representative. You're meeting the best version of that person for the first couple of months, however long that person is able to uphold that view. I think that's what Jesse presented as, but I'm sure Michelle probably did the same thing. In marriage, since Jesse was successful and looked like a go-getter and seemed like a positive person, it's easy for that illusion to travel on for years. Yeah. And I think it probably was exasperated after she had their child. And then you see, what kind of partner do you have? It's different, but what kind of husband do you have just to you? But then it's like, what type of parent, husband, partner do you have when you introduce children? And maybe that was the switch. But yeah, I don't think Jesse is like different. I don't think he like magically changed overnight. I think that the signs were there, but sometimes the signs are harder to read depending on where you're coming from, what you're looking for, what you expect. And they're in the situation that they're in. But if we don't know Jesse from the past, but the Jesse that we know today, very manipulative. And we see that throughout this entire episode and throughout entire episode 5. So we see, episode 5 is crazy, but we see Jesse for who he is right now. And if all I can think about is like, if this was the Jesse that you were married to for at least the past year, this was hell.
Absolutely. You hear allegedly what her birthing story was like with Isabella. You hear about how he was in that room and the doctors had to override him because she allegedly had serious risk to her own life and the baby's. And Jesse was like, one of those husbands who didn't want her to do things with an epidural, wanted her to do things naturally. So yeah, Jesse seems to me like one of those controlling people who gets off on that, very manipulative. And that's not to say that Michelle is not also toxic. I do believe she is. She has said things that I dislike. I don't remember exactly the circumstance surrounding it, but she definitely implied that she supported the Don't Say Gay bill. That's absolutely outrageous. However, that being said, when I look at her relationship with Jesse, she's still in a volatile situation, and he says so. Yeah. Moving along. So Jesse plans a trip to Santa Barbara. This is another way of getting back at Michelle. Everything really is.
Absolutely. This was a, hey friends, look what I can do for you kind of trip. And look what Michelle can't do for you. And
it was very expensive where they were taken. This house was insane, actually right on the water.
It was beautiful.
He wanted everyone to know that Michelle was going to be invited because he doesn't want anybody to feel excluded, but it would be up to them whether or not they chose to come. Basically, he's saying, I'm the bigger person. We'll see if they're able to come. Now, in the meantime, Janet, prior to Santa Barbara. So Janet invites Kristen to her birthday party, which is a big deal because Janet and Kristen were not on good terms.
Yep.
And this is a result of Zach's comment, correct?
Correct. The drama with Kristen and Janet and with Zach, I think Janet blew out of proportion. But yes, Janet's beef with Kristen kind of stems from Zach's comment. And I think it was something else last season that happened between directly Kristen and Janet. But yes, that is the source of that because Janet went on that podcast or the television show and said that Kristen and Zach were speaking ill on her pregnancy.
Yes. Okay. So that's a big deal that she's coming to her birthday party. That's their first interaction.
Big deal.
Yeah, Jasmine and Janet hang out to discuss Kristen helping Jesse party plan because not only did they go over for tea, but she told Jesse she was going to help him plan the Santa Barbara trip, which again would piss me off if I was Michelle. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I'm like, what are you
absolutely.
doing, Kristen? You are being so messy.
Absolutely. Very vindictive, very petty.
And meanwhile, Kristen and Luke are actively trying like different methods to like improve her fertility or
Mm-hmm.
increase her likelihood of being fertile. And so it's like you have a lot going on. Just
And you want
divest
to
your
add
attention,
that?
interest there because you're gonna stress yourself out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And Nia basically accompanies Kristen on one of these acupuncture visits in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because when Nia goes out for this outing, she knows that if she leaves Daniel for any length of time, that she needs to hire help before she leaves to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I'm thinking, and who helps Nia? When do
Mm.
you have help? Because you can't, you have three children, but then you have
Mm-hmm.
Danny, who's also acting like a child,
Who's a
because you need
child?
to plan out childcare when your husband is there and you are childcare every other time.
That is excuse me, that is what they call single married woman or single married mom. She's married, but the priority of the children, the work of the children falls on her at all times without much support or help. Or her partner, her spouse, Danny, needs assistance when she's not there. And I can understand needing assistance. You have three kids, but the fact that Nia can't even leave, like, there's not any, I wonder, is there any instance where Danny is left alone with the kids without any help at any time? It's different to have help over when the help is available, when they're already scheduled, when the kids are maybe sick or something like that, and your spouse is leaving. But I wonder, like, does Danny need assistance every time you leave the house?
I'm really curious what Danny's temperament is like behind closed doors because the way
Yeah.
that Nia overcompensates to coddle Danny goes beyond what people should be excusing. And we'll talk about that as the episode goes on in the last
Mm-hmm.
episode and the controversy between Nia and Brittany and their husbands. But Nia has to coddle Danny to a level that's unhealthy. And when you look at the age of her children, too, I mean, it looked like she had two. Does she have
Oh, hold on.
twins?
Sorry. There's a gnat in here. I tried to catch it while it was floating in front of me, and then I saw it.
Got it.
Got it. Okay,
Um,
back.
it
Yes, Nia has twins.
okay, so she has two 1-year-olds, and
Mm-hmm.
then presumably what looks like maybe like a 2-year-old son named Asher.
Mm-hmm.
So she has her hands absolutely full.
Full.
And to go back to what you were saying, if Danny is ever alone with the children, not at a time that we've seen, because if you remember, even season one, she goes out for a girls' night, the air conditioning goes
Mm-hmm.
out, and Danny, rather than stay at a hotel with the kids himself, like he needs Nia to come home and lead the
Yeah.
trip. Mind you, if Danny were out, especially based on what we're hearing as the episodes go on, he would be three sheets to the wind,
Yep.
inebriated, and unable to go back and help her. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like figure it the fuck out, you know? Like I'm totally for helping your partner and sharing equal loads, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but he has no problem solving skills from what we see.
Correct. And I think a lot of that, this is like the importance of certain discussions that you have to have before you get married, before you have kids, because you want to understand like what level of assistance, what level of parenting is that other person willing, ready, and able to provide to you, and really understand like your roles. What is your roles? Is your role primary caretaker, but does that mean you do everything at the drop of a dime, or are you primary caretaker but this person handles these types of tasks? It's important to have those types of discussions around like your expectations in a marriage and in parenthood. So we don't know what works for Nia and Danny, but you can see that if Danny is having to interrupt your good time because he can't handle something, then there's definitely a disconnect right there. I think it's selfish too. It from season one, that was really selfish act for him to hey, I can't figure this out. You need to come home from what you're doing to help me. Because it would not have been able to happen on the reverse. It would have been Nia taking care of 4 children
Mm-hmm.
because Danny would have been the drunk fourth child that
A
needed
hundred percent.
to be catered to and baby the whole time.
I feel like we're going to see a lot more of Danny and Nia's relationship out in the open
Yeah,
as these seasons progress. That's what I
agreed.
feel.
Because I don't think we didn't see it in these past seasons, and I was honestly surprised until you and I got on the call, and we were talking about Nia and we were talking about Danny, and I was like, wow, I did not even think about this like that. Like Danny does suck. Danny has not shown up, and that's largely because they don't get as much screen time as others. So we get like pockets of their little stuff, and it looks like one offs. But this season is really like a magnifying glass for Danny and Nia in the background still. But you can tell that the cameras are about to like shift their focus onto them, especially with Jax being gone. They got to find the drama somewhere else.
Because when you're sitting on a bus and saying, "No, you will listen to me, your wife," like when that's going on, I need to hear the
Yeah.
other end. Where is Danny mic'd at? Like, what the fuck were you saying, being that disrespectful?
I
I
was
want to hear it.
cracking up when the camera zoomed in and the
Uh-huh.
mic turned up for her saying that.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, this is
She
a side
said
of Nia
crown
we have not
off.
seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have not seen that side of Nia yet.
And that's what I need to see more. I need to see her be like, "Don't play with me," because he
Hmm.
seems to have way too many liberties. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to get into episode 5. Let's keep going. Danny fucks up, though. Okay, so Nia's at fertility acupuncture with Kristen.
Hmm.
Danny, instead of getting hired childcare, Luke comes over. He's getting practice to see what it would be like to be a dad, anyways. Okay, perfect. He's over the house chilling with Danny. Danny, loose lips Danny, big mouth Danny. He tells Luke, "Hey, I know you're not in the group chat, okay, but just so you know, there is one. About 25 to 30 guys are in it. You didn't make the list, sorry." But Jesse texted it and said that Michelle was allegedly having sex with a billionaire for $1,500 a night. Now, loose lip Luke goes back and tells Kristen. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Like, he goes back and tells Kristen, and then this arises. What did you think about Danny telling Luke? Are you at all surprised?
First, before we even get to Danny telling Luke, let's talk about this fucking group chat. Okay.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd take the bait and want to talk about it.
Let's talk about the group chat. For one, the fact that Luke was not invited to the group chat gives me even more like information that Luke is not like these other guys. Luke might be messy. He might put his foot in his mouth. He might not always
Loose
do what's
lip
right.
Luke. Listen, I'm going to call him that.
Luke. But Luke is not as ain't shit as these other guys, because if he was, he would have been in that group chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that group chat of 25 to 30, first of all, and excuse my language, what the fuck are grown men? What the fuck are 25 to 30 grown men doing in a group chat? I'm not in a group chat as a woman I'm only in a group chat with like 11 of my closest girlfriends. 25 to 30 adult men in a group chat? What are you guys
That should be a national security threat. Do you know what happens
It
when men
really
are in a group
should.
chat? The last time we heard that headline, it was in association with men in France had group chat to, trigger warning, rape
Yes.
their wives. So I don't want to see
Yes.
30 men in a group chat. Or I think, exactly like I said, national security threat. No. What are you talking
I'm
about?
I'm curious just what adult man would want to be on a group chat with 25 to 30 other adult men that should be working and building homes. What are we doing here? Is this too much free time for adult men?
How many texts do you get a day, too? Jesus.
Husbands, men with children, men with girlfriends, whatever. Just I can't even think about the makeup of this group. No matter who's in the group chat, shut it down. It's disgusting. It's gross. It's young. Now Danny telling Luke what was in the group chat. That's what happens with group chats. You have 30 people in that group chat. I'm gonna let you know at least 5 of those people have talked about this group chat. The people that are not in the group chat have shared the group chat, have taken screenshots of the group chat. The group chat is known. The
Yes.
group chat is TMZ at this point. Okay, so at least 5 of those men have spilled the beans about something in that group chat.
At
Now,
least.
Danny telling Luke, I definitely think that that was like, I know we're going to be on TV and this would be interesting, stir up the drama, get me some more time. I look like the good guy. Or maybe I don't care what I look like. I think that's what that was for Danny. Danny was like, I'm here to stir up a little bit of drama and the cameras are rolling. Right? I think that's what Danny's point was. Now, telling Luke, I think was strategic as well.
Did you know that Black women in New Jersey are 7 to 8 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white women? Wealth is not a protective factor. In fact, wealthy Black women are still more susceptible to maternal death than their white peers. The Perinatal Health Equity Initiative is fighting to change that through education, advocacy, and support. You can help by visiting their website today at https://givebutter.com/HCOFR5 to learn more and donate. A portion of the proceeds from all positively uncensored content and merch also supports their work. Let's stand together for Black mothers and families. Do so by visiting the link in the description below. Let's get back to the episode.
Because Luke is a fairly neutral party amongst all of the group. If Luke brings you something, people might say, Luke, you are messy. Loose lips, Luke. Damn, Luke,
Yeah.
good grief. But you notice after everybody was like, dang, Luke, you told everybody, that was the end of that. And everybody was like, let's get down to this information that was shared. So I think it was strategic with Danny telling Luke, because that's a great partner to tell. The one thing Danny did not think about is loose lip Luke is always going to tell you where he got that information from.
He's not going to just say, I heard this. He's going to say, and so Danny told me earlier, Danny Bukaki, whatever, Danny Buko, whatever his last name is, he told me this.
Luke, for every time Luke is getting ready to tell something, he's not hiding who he got the information from.
No.
So I think that was Danny's mistake if he wanted that to be
Huge.
kept private. Hilarious. But now we want to get to the information that was shared in that group chat.
Wait, first, can I say something real quick about
Yes.
the group chat? Okay,
Yes,
I have a
please.
couple of things. As someone who's experienced this allegedly firsthand, I can tell you when you see a group chat of a bunch of guys and they are talking about crass things, that's key. Like, let's say 20 guys who are all doing fantasy football only text each other when to log on their computers for fantasy. Fine.
Perfect.
Fine, perfect. I get it. Or if you guys were all in a fraternity together and you're trying to plan somebody's wedding and it's a quick group text, this is what we're
perfect.
doing. Perfect. I get it, okay? But if the group chat specifically is to say crass things and they just escalate worse and worse and worse, that's going to be a problem. And like you said, there's always, no matter how small the group chat is, whether it's 5, whether it's 10, or whether it's 30, like they had the audacity, there will always be at least one guy who tells his girlfriend or wife everything. Rule 2 is if that wife or girlfriend is friends with any of the other wives or girlfriends from that group chat,
She's gonna tell
them. From that, certain men will then text the group chat, try to find out who the mole is, which will then cause tension between the group chat of guys who are loyal versus guys who can be trusted with the dirtiest information. If your husband is part of that dirtiest information, run for the fucking hills. Run for the hills. But eventually, your husband will reach a point where something is still too far for him, and he will tell you to try to separate himself from his friends and be like, you should see what Tom texted in the group chat. I would never do that to you. And then the cycle repeats every single time.
Absolutely.
Every single time.
Absolutely.
So,
And we do know that Danny and Jesse, they're not on the best of terms either. So I think also Danny bringing that up is like, I'm not on the best of terms with Jesse. Let's watch Jesse sink really quick and see what happens.
So that's the thoughts on the group chat. Now the content, like you were saying, the context of what he said, which is Michelle was an escort. Your thoughts were what?
Before we jump to the Dave and Buster scene, I'll just give you my context, like when I was watching that scene. Why? Why would you put that in there? How was that information beneficial? Out of these 30 men that were in that group chat, what were they going to do with that information? What did you want them to do with that information? What perception did you want these 30 men to have of your soon-to-be ex-wife? That's the only thing that kept going through my mind is why? What what was the conversation like before you posted that?
He knew it would
What
get out. He just wanted to be able to blame someone when it did.
Yeah. What was the conversation like after that? How did the rest of these 30 men in this group chat respond to your message about your current wife? What where did this conversation go after, like what was going on? What is the
Because
purpose?
you know it didn't
That's all I
stop
kept
there. He
thinking.
didn't just
It
text that
didn't.
and
It
not
didn't.
have a response.
Absolutely. I'm sure people were like, dude, where'd you get this information? Dude, how'd you find this out? Oh, the crash joke, crash joke, crash joke. Like,
1,500. Oh my God, what a slut. We don't know.
yes, we have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So just the fact that if you posted it, we don't know what the conversation was about before, and we don't know the conversation after. All we know is that you text, Michelle is sleeping with the billionaire for $1,500.
Now,
Disgusting enough.
disgusting enough. And I feel like he did that intentionally because of the career they have. I feel like if you're a real estate agent, I feel like it is a big deal when people say the rumors that you slept with a client to get them. Also, my best friend, shout out Bree, she pointed out like it was so weird how Jesse described Michelle as if he was almost like, for lack of a better word, pimping her out. Because if you remember, he was not, like he said, like Michelle will send a text of herself to somebody like, I don't care, like she's got to do what she's got to do to get the house, like I'll send Michelle in there. And it's like, so now why is the, you know what I mean, why is the bar moving? It sounds very much like you wanted her to lead with her femininity, you know what I mean? And now you're trying to use that against her and with an uncredible story. Diving back in, so Janae and I we can go down a tangent. We can go down a tangent, but
For
we want to
sure.
get through episode 5, and we want to do so in a timely order. So I will probably be flying through the remainder of episode 3
Let's do
because
it.
what happens next is they go to Dave and Buster's. Okay, and at Dave and Buster's, okay, yeah. So at Dave and Buster's, Michelle is going around and talking to the girls. Now, first we'll start here. Michelle starts by telling the girls that she was not allowed to wear makeup when she was married to Jesse because he wore white t-shirts all the time and she would get her makeup on his shirt. Now, not to question Michelle, but I've seen her wear makeup when she's with Jesse. So like
When she said that, I was like, girl, shut up.
I'm like, maybe we should go with a different thing about him. You know what I mean? Like, does he not wipe the toilet seat? Like, I don't know.
Like that. Okay. Exactly. I was like, okay, Michelle. Anyway, so what's next? Anything else
Okay.
dramatic?
So then, as this is happening, basically Danny overhears a conversation that's happening with Brittany, Michelle, and a couple of other people. Okay, but Brittany and Michelle are standing there, and obviously Nia. Okay, and when they're standing there, the information is being passed along that Danny told Luke that there was a group text sent from Jesse that Michelle was an escort. They're relaying this information to Michelle. This is the first time that she's hearing this. Now, Michelle is pissed. Rightfully so. Okay?
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Is Dave and Buster's the proper venue to tell this information?
Is any of their locations the right venue
Right.
to tell the information? Never.
Never. No. But so Danny, in the middle of this, Danny storms over because Danny looks over and he's like, "Oh fuck, I'm screwed." Like he knew as soon as he told Luke, essentially. And Nia, in my mind, was sort of like texting Danny under the table and like, "You need to come over here. Like the girls have questions." Like I kind of think that was happening too. And so Brittany tells Danny, "We need to make sure he actually said that so we can tell him, Jesse, why did you do that?" And I'm like, wow, thanks for your feedback, Brittany. What would we do?
That was a perfect impersonation of Brittany. Oh my gosh. Are you from the South, Leah?
No, but I might be. Might be now. What, Brittany Cartwright? You need a voiceover actor? I'll take Danny's gig. I'm going to play Brittany.
That was excellent.
And I looked at Brittany and I'm like, God, I would not want you to defend me. Like, if all you're
No,
going to do is tell Jesse, why did you do that? Like,
that's not the point.
anybody can ask. Anybody can ask him that, okay?
No.
Now, Danny tries to walk it back, and Nia's like, no, you texted it. Tell him. Nia, in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, is one of the people who, like, helps Danny uplift bro code. Because this is just an assumption I'm projecting onto Nia. She
Okay.
may be somebody who tells the wives immediately when she sees stuff in the group chat. But I could
Mm-hmm.
also see her being a safe space for Danny to where she's usually the person that Danny tells what's happening in the group chat and she
Mm.
doesn't go anywhere with that information. And so when he told Luke, she was like,
You are out of
idiot.
protocol. I can see that, and I would have to say I would not respect her for doing that. I do
Right.
feel like if your spouse tells you something that was private for them and tells you something private,
Yes.
are you more inclined to keep that private? Yes. Is it important for your girls to know? Also yes, but I do think that she was like, hold up, you told Luke and not me.
Agreed. And then after Danny hears this, the fear in his eyes are detectable. Like deer in
Mm-hmm.
headlights. He tucks his tail between his legs and he goes and tells Jesse what he
Yeah.
did.
I think Danny was more afraid to get kicked out of the group chat.
100%. And he was scared to be called a mole. He
Yeah.
said, is it mole behavior? Yes. Am I a mole? No.
No.
The shoe fits, Danny. The
You're a
shoe
mole.
fits. Okay, so
But I'm sorry. Let's address the fact that Jesse said that he posted it because he was trying to suss out a mole.
oh yeah, he was like plot twist. This was all I had you. This was a long game for
So
me.
you use your current wife
I don't believe that for
and
one
her
second.
sexuality and a lie to bolster out a mole from a 30-person male group chat?
This feels like David and his lie about the cousin. Like this just feels like
Yes, unnecessary.
yes.
It was unnecessary. You said it, stand on it. You didn't do it to suss out a mole. You did it to be nasty.
You did it
That's
to be
it.
nasty, and you did it so that other husbands would question Michelle and look at her like she's wearing a scarlet letter. That's why you did it.
Yep.
You did it to
You
soil
wanted
her
the they
reputation.
Yes, and I also think that he wanted the what's the word that I'm looking for? Compassion. The compassion's not really the word. He wanted the
Sympathy.
there we go. Thank you. He wanted the sympathy from the rest of the guys that Jesse, you're not a bad guy. She was being a prostitute. She's a slut.
She was
You're not a
cheating
bad
on
guy.
you and for money. Like he was trying
Yes.
to make it he was also you could tell his feelings on sex work by how he was talking about this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So Jason says, mind you, this group chat has gotten people in trouble a lot over the years that people have been in. And he has an Android, so he's stayed out of it. He's not in the group chat.
I'm gonna pause right there. Jason would be in that group chat if he had an
Yes, he would.
iPhone.
I was about to say
Just
that.
saying.
I was about to say that. And Janet would be looking over his shoulder every time,
All the time.
all the time. Now, let's see. I have this note. I see why Michelle likes Aaron because when she tells Aaron what Jesse just said about her, his only response, and I put it in quotes, is because she said this is too much for me, like she's crying. He said it's not too much for you. You're the strongest person I know, and he's unbothered, just supporting her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no lashing out. No, you're embarrassing me. No, now we have to work through this. No, is that true? You know what I mean? Like he
Yep.
was very easygoing,
Supportive.
supportive.
Supportive. It's your feelings are hurt. How can I help you with that?
Basically, Janet's trying to win her drone, get her winner's shirt, win her ding 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 bell, and she's trying to not be involved in all of this drama. But sidebar, Michelle campaigns for herself and goes person to person because after hearing this information, we've said that Santa Barbara's being planned. She goes person to person and says, I want you to vote for me to come on this trip and stay in the house and Jesse to not. And people would tell her, but Jesse planned the trip. And she said, and he can still stay out of the house. Jesse planned the trip. Jesse's paying for the trip. But Michelle said, well, Jesse can stay elsewhere.
Yeah.
And eventually she gets a couple yeses. Like Brittany's like, oh, you want people to vote? Like she's like surprised. That was my attempt at another Southern accent. Couldn't do it. Brittany's like, oh, you want people to vote? And she's like, okay, fine, I'll vote for you. She goes around, basically Jasmine. Who was it? It was Jasmine and Kristen, and they were like, we're not going to if you're going to make us vote, you don't get the vote. We're going to vote for Jesse. And Michelle was stunned that she didn't get their vote. Michelle was hurt. So the like episode ended with Michelle campaigning for votes, trying to get Jesse kicked out of the house. Jesse learns this information from Kristen, who goes and tells him, hey, Michelle's trying to get you kicked off the trip. Like, she wants to stay in the house. But just so you know, I had your back. I voted for you. Jesse is like, instead of being like, wow, this is outrageous. Like, why are we being this petty? He goes, thank you for the vote. And then just continues on with normal conversation. They're petty and petty together.
Yes.
It is kind of funny to watch some of it. I do feel for Michelle, of course, but it is funny to watch her go around and try to kick him off the trip that he planned.
Oh, I thought it was stupid. Girl, he booked it. If he booked it, he's going. You might not want to go then if you feel so strongly, which I would understand if she didn't, honestly. But I also understand, girl, it's your job, so you have to show up. So go clock in.
They have a lot of pride. Like, they're like,
Yes.
I'm going on that trip.
And I think she should have stayed home because what he did was disgusting. I don't think she should have gone. Or if she did go, we see that she did go. You should have brought your boyfriend. To have some backup and stay somewhere else. Stay at a hotel nearby, another house nearby, and then, just join the group for group activities. I think that was a positive atmosphere. We also, at the end of episode 3, that's when we hear the soundbite, or it wasn't a soundbite, that's when we see like Michelle basically saying that her situation is similar, if not worse, to Brittany's. And I think what Michelle was trying to say at that point was, or she's confused on why everybody is treating her the way that they're treating her versus how everybody is coddling Brittany because Brittany has to deal with Jax, but they're not seeing that Michelle has to deal with Jesse. And I totally understand Michelle's feeling around this because we've seen so far in this season, and we've seen like little sprinkles in the last 2 seasons, but definitely in this season, that Jesse is not nice. Jesse is mean. Jesse is manipulative. He knows her triggers. She knows his, but he continues to go lower and lower and lower with his triggers for her. And everybody is, I won't say everybody, but majority of the cast is just kind of like, yeah, this does suck, but we got to keep going. We got to keep doing this. Whereas I think Michelle really wanted everybody to say the same type of things they were saying to Jax. You need to get help. You need to stop. That's the mother of your child. Da 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 da. And I do think that she deserves some grace in this situation, and she's not getting that. And I understand the frustration, especially the part of like, well, let's vote him out. He doesn't need to come, because she's almost like on an island by herself. I don't think Jesse is as bad as Jax, because Jax is clearly physical with his abuse in some way, whether that's throwing objects towards Brittany or actually doing things to Brittany. Jesse is not on that level, but manipulation in that way that Jesse is doing it, bad mouthing her and making her seem like some really bad person in front of strangers or other people, and she doesn't have the opportunity to defend herself, is a really helpless feeling. So I feel really bad for Michelle, but I agree with you. I don't like Michelle. I think Michelle makes it very easy to be unlikable, just like what you said. In the past season, she's kind of boring for the show, but I feel extremely sorry for her, because I can't imagine dealing with somebody that you have a child with and having to deal with them being manipulative, and then also seeing your friends side with that person or
Absolutely.
not hold that person accountable in the same way that you just saw your friends hold this other guy accountable.
And
Very
the reality
difficult to
is,
understand.
they all need to give, the women should give each other more grace. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
it's really the guys. I cringed when Michelle made that comparison, because it's like, there's this like idea that like physical abuse is like the worst type of abuse that you can go through.
Mm-hmm.
And while I would never disagree that that's awful to go through, simultaneously so many women kill themselves or feel
Mm-hmm.
a desire to not be there or a part of the world because of verbal abuse, because of a
Yeah.
partner who gaslights their entire existence, financially
Emotional
manipulates
abuse.
them,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally abuses them, makes them feel undesirable, truly
Yeah.
undesirable, like you are just there to service their needs and to clean the
Mm-hmm.
house and do all of the chores, and you don't earn love, you know what I mean?
It's
And
really
that's
demoralizing.
exhausting. It's
Yeah.
demoralizing. It can make somebody angry. So I cringed for Michelle because while I understand that she's in a position where it can feel tempting to compare the two, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like her and Brittany in reality are in very similar positions. You know what I
They
mean?
are.
Like they're with two very volatile men who
Mm-hmm.
often charm others into taking their side and feeling empathy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Jax did it to viewers for years. He still, to some degree, has some pull with like Lisa Vanderpump, for example, the same way that
Yeah.
James Kennedy did. And I think that where Michelle is angry with Jesse is that she knows him. So she
Mm-hmm.
knows that he has no real desire to be friends with any of these people in the
Yeah.
group. So his
Absolutely.
this friendship, this invitation to be close to them is just to get at her. So not
Mm-hmm.
only are they taking his side, but disingenuously. You know what I mean? Like
Agree.
he's only doing it to get a reaction out of him, and I think that it's driving Michelle crazy that people
Mm-hmm.
would be supporting him when they should see through that this is to get a rise out of her.
Absolutely agree. I think this season, I've seen a couple other TikTokers do clips on this season. This season is really dark. And it's really dark because, like I said at the beginning of this episode, there are no gentlemen on this show. There
Mm.
are no good guys on this show at all.
Mm-hmm.
I will give grace to Luke because I think Luke is chatty, but at least he's more vocal when he needs to stand up, correct somebody, say something is wrong. I will give him that overall. But as a whole, the gentlemen, the guys on the season,
And Jason, like I
they're
haven't seen anything agree. Like I haven't seen
oh
anything
no,
from Jason.
I when we hop into episode 5, I got beef with Jason after episode 5. I don't like Jason. I think Jason, like I said, I will only give grace to Luke. The
Mm,
guys on this season are bad. Nobody's holding each other accountable. Nobody's being real. Everybody is chasing the fame and the money to be on TV. And unfortunately, the women are suffering. Now, ladies, we all make our own choices and we deal with what we are dealing with. Whatever, however you decide to get out of that, leave that, remove yourself from that, it can be easier said than done. And I do think that Brittany and Michelle have made choices that have aided in getting them into the places that they are in right now. Especially Brittany, girl. We all from
especially Brittany.
episode 1 when you first popped on the BPR, everybody told you that Jack sucked.
And she had a
But
break from Jax. You know what I mean? Like I
she
understand the
did.
cycle of abuse, but you went home to Kentucky. You saw your life without him. You had
Yeah.
time to divest.
But I will say there are plenty of elements that can get you wrapped up in a person.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't make any excuse for that person's bad behavior at
Absolutely.
all. But the men that just they suck.
Hmm.
They suck. And it's very hard to watch because I'm like, nobody's holding anybody accountable. Michelle's situation is more similar to Brittany's situation than all of you guys are letting on. And it's largely
Absolutely.
because Jesse's manipulative. He knows how to play the background, make you guys like him. He's doing this trip not out of the kindness of his heart.
That
Okay? This is a manipulative trip for everybody to go on and feel like, look at what Jesse did. Even though in all of their confessionals, they're like, Jesse's showing off. And they all have slick comments to say. But you're here. And you look like you're supportive of him. So it sucks. This season, like at the end of episode 3, I was like, this sucks for Michelle.
Well, I think
I,
we should leave a cliffhanger and that everybody
okay.
should come back for our next episode we do together on the Valley,
Yes.
episode 5, because I think everybody wants to know what is Janae's beef with Jason, which we will absolutely find out. And then you can hear my hot take, which is that I think both Nia and Brittany are right. I don't think either of them are more right over the other one in their argument at the end of the episode. And I don't think that either of them are wrong. I don't. I see both of their points, and I think that this over coddling of Nia needs to be talked about just a little bit. Just a little bit. This like overprotectiveness of Nia, I want to talk about, and we'll talk on that in the next episode when I find my words to do it. Okay, everyone, this was so much fun. You can hear the rain. I haven't eaten yet today, so I'm going to take some time to eat. I'm going to enjoy this rainy afternoon. Janae is going to enjoy 86-degree weather and some humidity. Thank you so much for making time to chat with me today. Remind everybody where they can follow you.
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. Janae Breon, JANAEBREAHN. And then you can also find my website, janaebreon.com, which has all the information on how to contact me, work with me, do workshops, anything that you like.
Follow Janae, follow me, give the podcast 5 stars, come back for our next episode. We have a plan. We're going to be recording more frequently. If you think of any segments that we should add in, let us know. If the rain is too distracting in the background, comment that as well, because I'm curious if I should be muting myself in between talking, or if you guys like the ambient noise.
The rain sounds so peaceful to me.
Okay, good. I'm hoping that that's how it lands for people as they're driving around. Everybody, have an amazing day. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on all platforms. And come back for our next episode on the Valley. And I've also watched the first 5 episodes of Secret Life of Mormon Wives. So come back for my thoughts on that. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you again, Janae.